So today, Donald Stojack's going to have a really good conversation with Tyler Ellison out of the metropolis of Linden, Utah. Um, and I think we're going to go back and forth. I think, Tyler, this, as you and I have worked with a number of people over the years, I think this is maybe a blind spot or, it's, and we're talking about client avatar. So before we get too far, people struggle in business. I think because they don't understand their market, or they think they understand it, or they're a little bit off on it. And, this is one of those little big things, would you say? How would you characterize it?
No, definitely. So the most common situation you encounter is people have a preconceived notion of who they think their business is for.
Mm,
They have given actually very little thought to it. And even though they might have a general idea of who they're trying to advertise to, they haven't taken the time to really empathize deeply with who those people are and get to understand them on more than just a superficial level of understanding who they are demographically, rather than trying to get to know them emotionally and psychologically and really understand them versus like just trying to propose something because everybody who's in this certain demographic is going to want my stuff. And
but
that
wait a minute. I'm a life coach, and my target is middle-aged women. What else do I need to know?
exactly, and that's where people will stop, and they'll just be like, my marketing, I'll qualify people a lot of, if I just target all of them and if I have a good message, the ones that are interested will raise their hands and that will qualify it. And while that is true, you need to understand that all advertising works at some expense.
Mhm.
If I spend $1 billion on ads, you're going to hear about me, you know, but that's not what's accessible to most, small businesses or individuals who are trying to grow and be efficiently. And if you're going to try and growth hack your business, efficiency is what it's all about. So,
And before we go too far, and you threw out a number there, for some of the people here, you're a new name to them. Okay, you've been at this a little while. Tell us a little bit more about who Tyler is and why you bring a little bit of authority to this conversation.
sure. Well, I've been in digital online advertising for almost 20 years now. It's been 19 precisely. And
And you started when you were 12, just to clarify.
I actually built my first website when I was 15, so it's
Oh
not,
my gosh.
yeah. But I don't count from there. I count from when I actually started doing it full-time professionally. And I did it because my first business actually was a video production company. And I figured, well, if I can figure out how to get my website appear at the top of Google for searches for like Utah wedding videos at the time,
Mhm.
would get all of this business. And so I learned SEO to build my video company, and I was able to like quadruple what we were making versus what we were making from the yellow pages. And I'm like, I actually kind of like the marketing more than the video stuff now.
Mhm.
I started getting so much business where I'm like, if I have to go to another wedding reception, I think I'm gonna throw up. I can't handle it. So I got so sick of what I thought was like my passion, which was media production and stuff. And
Mhm.
that was the only way I really knew how to monetize it back then. So I jumped into the digital media side of advertising and website traffic. And since that time, I have spent tens of millions of dollars a year on Google and Facebook, and you
Oh, did
know
you guys stop? Hold on, hold a minute. Did you say $10? How much was that number?
tens of millions of dollars.
Are you guys paying attention? Do you think Tyler might know a little bit of what he's talking about here today? I want you guys to make sure you got your pencil and paper handy to take notes and be ready to ask really intelligent questions. But also don't be afraid to ask a few stupid questions, okay? Because there's no question, right, Tom? Okay, keep going, Tyler. Thank you.
Yeah, and so I don't even know the number anymore. I mean, once you reach a certain amount, you just stop counting. It stops mattering. What matters to me most now is in making, a positive impact with that advertising and supporting businesses that are truly enriching people's lives. During this time, I've worked in most of the major industries online, from financial investing to health and nutrition and fitness to, you know, coaching to making starting online business opportunities, all forms of e-commerce, and even local, mom and pop shops and that kind of thing. Like I've advertised just about everything worth advertising on the internet. That's the popular niches. And so during that time, part of what's helped me be successful over time is that by having such a rich experience level in different markets, I was able to spot opportunities in markets where, well, we've always done it this way because this is what our competitors do, and they were not able to understand that by applying what works in another niche and just adapting it, you can make, massive headway and big wins. And I started building my success kind of along that way by doing like, look, you're in the fitness niche, but what worked in the biz op niche for us, it would actually work for you too if you structure your business this way, and started making, some a big impact that way in increasing sales, increasing returns on it, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, cool. And I've had the honor and privilege of working alongside Tyler and seeing that in action. And I can attest that this guy really knows his stuff and actually gets massive results. What I'd like to do, Tyler, today is maybe unpack. I want to go over strategy here a bit, but also tactics. So kind of a blend of that, but real applicable stuff. And my big question for you, most of the people on this call are coaches. There's some business owners here, small brick and mortar companies and things like that. What is if you could just wave your magic wand and just get inside somebody's brain, what is the number one thing that you see as the biggest blunder they're making when it comes to approaching this idea of client avatar, or what to do with it, or what else? I mean, what is that 800-pound gorilla that sits there?
The biggest blunder is nobody wants to take it serious and do it. That's honestly the biggest one. I'm not going to ask y'all to raise your hands, but if I ask you to actually admit, if you have spent more than 2 hours like writing down what your customers think about all day, I bet very few of you would actually raise your hands and say, I've actually spent 2 hours focused time getting into the minds of my prospects and making notes about who they are, how they think, what their days are like. That's the usual response. You will get a few outliers like, no, I'm very empathetic. I spend a lot of time doing this, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and so just full disclosure, Carly is our outlier always, because she's the maverick going after. But yes, I think most of us are guilty of way underestimating the effort we need to put here.
Sure. So in the interest of attending to your both, thinking theoretically and strategically, but also being very practical, I have a template in Google Doc that I use, that Donald has seen me use before, that is now, it's available to all of you to copy. So the way to do that is go to tylerellison.com/avatar. That will open up that long, hairy Google Doc link, and that'll get you my template. So if you don't mind, Don, I'm going to go ahead and screen share on this template.
Yes, and I'm going to put that link in.
So if you go to tylerellison.com/avatar, that's Ellison with 2 L's, it will open this template. The first thing you need to do is come to File here and make a copy. All right, because you're not going to be able to edit this document. This is my original. So make a copy that saves to your Google Doc. And I renamed mine as demo, and this is the one that we're going to make available to edit. So the magic here is there's a bunch of tabs down here at the bottom. The first tab you're going to see, this is if you are a B2B provider. And this is a way to build your Dream 100 company client list. I imagine many of you are familiar with the Dream 100 concept, where you go out and you actually make a list of 100 businesses that would be your dream clients. And this would be the space to fill that out. Now, maybe
that could be a Dream 25. So don't get intimidated by the 100.
Sure, the 100 is just what's been called, but it can be a Dream 10. It can be a Dream whatever, however many.
But more than 3, guys, more than 3. Come on.
stretch yourselves a little bit, because you will not close all of this business. But the concept here is that you have a focused target that you are actively getting to know better. So with this Dream 100 tab is, I would make a list of, let's just say, like 10 businesses here. I would make a note of their website, and I would want to find who is the person that's the decision maker that would be able to hire me to work for this business. And I would track them down on LinkedIn, would be a great place to look for them. I find the company on LinkedIn and I look at the people that work for that company, and I find a decision maker. Maybe I can't find the full decision maker, but maybe I can get in touch with a low-level manager or somebody to interact with. So if I'm able to get their email, that would be a place to put it. There are tools that can that have emails available. I think like Apollo.io does it. But if there's publicly, if there's published emails, this would be a place to put them. But if you can find the actual contact person's email, sometimes you can guess it, like Donald@business.com oftentimes, or you can do their first and last name or their first initial. Sometimes you can guess it too. So I'd want to track them down and make note of any other social media profiles they have professionally. And I would want to add them as friends and not message them trying to pitch myself first thing.
Oh my gosh.
Not pitch myself. The non-pitch. This is because I'm genuinely interested in this person, not because I'm trying to invite them to whatever thing. So that's the purpose of the Dream 100, is that you build a network where you take genuine interest in people and interact with them. Just start liking their stuff, leave genuine, thoughtful comments on their social media, and just build a relationship to the point where they become curious about you. Like, who's this Donald that out of nowhere started commenting all of my Instagram posts, and they look into you and they start to get curious, and maybe they follow you back and maybe they start commenting your stuff. Suddenly now it's not, I'm pitching you. Now we have this social relationship from which to take it. Now this is a slow go. This is a slow rollout. And this is why it's the Dream 100, because you only really want to make this investment for somebody that's really worthwhile, a business that would make a serious impact for you. So that's the Dream 100, and we're not going to spend too much time on that, because we could spend a whole hour talking about how to do that. But that's this first tab in the template here, is if you are B2B, start building your Dream 100 here and start interacting, genuinely building relationships with these people. But what we're going to talk about primarily today, which is the part I think Donald likes the best, is this first tab where we're going to do Customer Avatar A. So this is a very simple dossier of the kind of person I would want to work with. And why don't we do one as an example so that we can fill all of this out? Donald, who do you think would be a great volunteer to be our guinea pig here?
I think Tom would be, because he's just pivoted recently, and he's got a very cool new avatar.
Well, cool. Let's unmute Tom and let's do this with Tom.
Tom is unmuted.
All right, Tom. So the first thing we're going to do to our avatar is we're going to give them a fictional name. So what would be a common name for somebody that you would want to do business with?
Let's go with common name. Let's go with John.
John what?
John Harris.
All right. How old's John Harris?
35.
Okay. Obviously he's a man.
Male, yeah.
What's his income demographic?
Let's say 60 to 75,000.
Okay. 60K a year on the low end. Does he have children?
Let's say 3.
All right. And what ages are those children?
Oh, for some reason, 2, 6, and 8 just popped to mind. So
there we go. It's important to know, because it's a very different phase of parenting when you have kids who are 2 versus kids who are 25. So
right.
You want
hopefully it's a different phase.
Yeah, at 35, hopefully he doesn't have any 25-year-old kids. So
then somebody's in trouble.
Yeah.
All right, married, single, divorced.
Let's stay married.
Okay. All right, what's his occupation?
Boy, that's a good question. We'll just say marketer.
He's a marketer, which
Yep.
means he's broke.
Well, he's getting 60,000 a year, so he's not too broke, but you know.
Right, if he's 60K a year, if he's a marketer, so, but what kind of marketer? Is he a manager? Is he an individual? Is he an entrepreneur? What kind? Let's be more
No, he's
specific.
an employee, so not a manager, but what was the second thing you said?
Well, are they entrepreneurial individuals, or like I mentioned, if he's gainfully employed as a W2?
Yeah, I'd say gainfully employed, not an entrepreneur, but
All right. So as a marketer, let's just say he's a social media manager, to be specific.
sure.
All right. Tell me a little bit more about his occupation. Does he go to an office? Does he work from home?
Yeah, definitely do the office thing.
Goes to an office, commutes,
Yep.
long commute, something on.
Man, you know,
All right, we'll say short then, 15 minutes,
sure.
15-minute commute. And does his wife cook for him? Does he do his own meals for break time? Is it-
They probably share and trade off because she does her own thing too. So
Oh, she's working too?
yeah, they share the burden of meals and cooking and income and stuff like that. Yeah.
So takes a pre-cooked meal made with his wife. That's fun. That's romantic.
Yep.
So their relationship is good and they're both working then. So we'll say married, but also both employed is what you want to say, right?
Sure. Yep.
So the shared income we'll say is probably double then. He gets 60 and so does she.
Okay. Sure.
All right. So this describes his work and what's his level of satisfaction with his job?
I'd say just a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 satisfaction with job.
Yep.
Anything else you can think of that's specific to his job? Loves his boss, hates his boss, loves his colleague, hates his colleagues.
Is well liked, fits in well.
Fits in.
And can I
Like
pause
my
for a moment
boss.
and just get some feedback here? As we're doing this, is anybody going, aha, like, uh-oh, I have not done this level of depth? Right? Okay, so good.
All right,
Keep
great,
going,
Tom.
Tyler.
So we got a pretty good idea of what his occupation's like. So, you know, John wakes up next to a wife that he's happily married to. They both get up, they have breakfast, he shaves, and they prepare their lunch meals together, drop the kids off at school and daycare because one's only 2, and they go to work to their jobs, and they work probably in a similar industry maybe, but not, not in exactly the same environment, because you shouldn't, They say don't eat where you go potty, right? All right, so it's types of friends.
Good friends.
What's a social life like?
Yeah, good friends. They're the softball crew. They play softball together, maybe do some bowling,
Softball buddies, go
Yep.
bowling,
Yeah. Hiking, biking.
hiking and biking buddies.
Yep.
So he's socially well adjusted and fits in kind of with the common man,
Yep.
Watch sports together,
Yep.
beer and barbecue,
Sure.
watches sports, beer and BBQ. So that's what his social life is like. Cool. What are his life goals right now?
Once get the house and cars paid off.
Pay off mortgage and car.
Yep. Wants good home and family life and clothing, food for kids.
So basic home and family security.
Yep.
In terms of food, clothing, medicine, etc.
Yep. They want to be able to travel with the kids, show the kids parts of the world. So
Travel with the kids internationally.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yep. Build a financial nest egg for retirement.
Build a nest egg for retirement. What else does he dream about?
He wants that boat. He's got all that other stuff, but he wants the boat. He wants to be out on the water. So I'd like to have a boat.
Dreams of a boat because he learned to fish from grandpa
Hmm.
and longs for those good times. That went a little deeper than you thought, but it's like, why does he want a boat? You know,
Right, right.
if
Yep.
he's happily married, then he doesn't want a boat to get away from his wife on the weekends, right?
Right, right.
That might be why a lot of guys want boats, you know?
Yep.
So in this case, he dreams about a boat because there's some other emotional attachment. He longs for the fun he had when he was fishing on a boat with his grandpa. He wants to
Yep.
recreate that for his children, etc. Okay.
He also would like to be get promoted to department head in his occupation.
Well, to get promoted to department head. And we've hinted on this briefly, but we'll make a note also goal, like what about his relationship goals? If he's happily married, like where does he want to take this further? Is it that he wants to raise well-adjusted children? Do they have a goal to homeschool one day? Is it more that he dreams of maybe rekindling the fire because he and his wife are now 3 kids in, starting to hit middle aged, and they're starting to lose interest sexually in each other? Like, kind of where's he at relationship wise? Is his goals?
I would say really big focus. Well, staying good with the wife, but he really wants to have a good, well-adjusted, good relationships with the kids, because a lot of times in America, dad, that's not where the best relationships are sometimes. So
Happy with wife, wants incredible relationship with kids. So let's say maybe he's a little insecure about that. Okay, so this is great. What are his values like? And what do I mean by values? I think most people understand it, but it's like, where will he absolutely not compromise? You know, where is he stubborn? What's the battleground he's gonna hold?
yeah, that's around the family. That's around the family.
All right, so defensive family.
Yep, family first.
Okay, what else?
Um,
Will he cheat at work?
no, a lot of integrity.
Even if his family security was threatened by it?
You did say cheat at work, correct?
Yes.
I'm not sure how that would threaten his family. I'm not seeing that.
Would he be willing to screw somebody over to make sure he kept his job?
No, because I mean that goes back to the integrity piece.
Would not hurt anybody.
Yeah, because how do you teach your kids integrity when you're like backstabbing people and
Yep. Well, because part of this is that some people hold up values that they pretend to support, but as soon as their survival is threatened, those values change very quickly, right?
Yep,
So
yep,
what we're
yep.
questioning here is like,
Yep.
how far will he go to stick to those values? And this isn't we're not dogging on anybody specifically here. John's a fictional person,
Yep.
and we're not making any preconceived judgments about him either. But if those values come into conflict, where does he make the decision? So,
Mhm.
anything else you would say about his values?
I guess so. Integrity, honesty is big too, I would say.
Okay.
And being grounded. He likes to keep, definitely his feet on the ground. He wants to live in reality.
So he's
Not so much
logical,
fantasy. Yeah.
realistic,
Maybe practical too. Yeah.
practical. Yep. All right. So that's good. And you can always expand on these. This is just kind of the initial brain dump, because the point of this is to get something on paper, and then you got to meditate on it. You got to think about it. You got to really go and see, like, does John Harris really exist, or have I created this fictional ideal person, right?
Right.
So what kind of barriers is he facing? Was he coming up short?
I'm not sure I'm following what you're looking for.
Why has he not gotten promoted yet?
Oh, why has he not gotten promoted yet? I think he's moving up. He just hasn't gotten to that level yet. He's on making progress, making positive forward progress. Just maybe more time.
Okay, so maybe the barrier in professionally is that he yet to acquire Sufficient professional experience.
Sure, yep.
So that's one barrier he has. What barrier does he see in becoming, the kind of dad he wants to be?
I don't know if this makes sense, but the two words that are coming up for me are internal checks. He thinks that, he's got to check himself. He needs to continue to reassess and measure and, what he's doing, what he's bringing to it. So
He has kind of let's say he undervalues himself, we'll say.
I don't know if that's fair.
Okay, then what would you say instead?
Well, he wants to make sure he doesn't lose focus, so maybe it's the possibility of losing focus.
Okay, so he has tunnel vision. He's focused on one thing, and it doesn't allow himself to get distracted. He's stubborn in that regard. Stubbornly focused. All right. What's the barrier to him for hitting his goals of paying off his mortgage, car, and buying a boat?
I think it's just a time thing. I think he's budgeted well. He's got the plan. It's just a matter of executing the plan.
Okay. Sounds really well-rounded. Might I suggest that maybe John has had unexpected financial setbacks?
Sure, maybe some investments kind of went south.
Unexpected financial setbacks. Maybe he's got a little more debt than he wants because he's got, a house and a car. They've got probably at least 2 cars if they both work.
Yeah.
And maybe he's got some student debt. Maybe they've taken on some credit card debt. Maybe they've made some decisions to remodel the house that they financed, that they're, would you say that debt might be a barrier that he's facing right now?
Possibly, yep.
All right, debt. Did he have a good relationship with his parents? Did they stay together?
Yeah, yep.
Good relationship with parents. Sets high expectations for himself.
Oh,
Because now he has to live up to dad. Dad was his hero. He was a successful husband and father. And now he feels the burden of, man, I gotta be as good as dad was. Right?
Yep.
And I see the men nodding because we feel that. We feel it, right? Dad was our hero, man, in many cases. All right, so that's a good list of barriers, and you can actually go on and on and on with this as you think about his family history, think about his medical history. Maybe he has some kind of physical or emotional, maybe he suffers from paralyzing anxiety at times. Maybe he, injured himself in high school with football, and so physically that always kind of set him back because he felt like he wasn't good enough to play because coach wouldn't put him in because he was injured. And he carries that trauma of injuring his leg playing football in high school. There are these things that go very deep that when you think about them are actually quite common. All right, let's talk about his pain points. What might cause John Harris to be up worried late at night?
What would cause him to be up worried late at night? Well, he's honestly he's concerned about going to sleep.
All right.
He's concerned about some dreams he's been having.
Having unusual dreams.
Yep,
What type of
yep.
dreams where he's not faithful to his values, where he betrays his
No, so they're unusual dreams. He doesn't seem to be at home anymore. He seems to be in a very foreign environment, and he feels he might be the subject of an experiment. I'll call them people that he sees don't look familiar to him. They don't necessarily look human.
I like it. Yeah.
And
maybe he feels like these are so real that he has this repressed memory that maybe he thinks that at one point he was actually abducted by aliens and he had this thing that makes him very paranoid of new situations, you know?
Possibly, because he does wake up with marks on his body that didn't seem to be there before.
How does
That he doesn't have a good explanation for how they got there.
So this generates some insecurity that he also is not sure if he's mentally sound, right? Because he
That's a
wakes up,
possibility. Yep. Yep.
you know, am I crazy?
Yep. He also can't seem to always account for his time. There
Lost
seems to be some
time.
missing time. Yeah. Yeah.
Blackout in memory. All right. Does he feel that his personality is consistent in everything he does? Or does he change colors a little bit depending on his environment?
I would think he feels pretty consistent.
Okay, so we're gonna put that as one of his values, that he's consistent.
Okay.
He doesn't change colors depending on who he's talking to.
Yeah.
And that's why Barry, the new social media manager, who is a chameleon that changes colors whoever he's around to suck up to the boss, is a threat to his promotion. Because he is a lying snake. By the way, I don't know anybody actually named Barry. I'm not projecting. You know, but this is where sometimes he's worried because Barry, who is completely opposite of his values, wins attention that that he doesn't deserve, and that's unfair.
Right. Right.
All right, so these are some of his pain points, and once again, feel free to go as deep as you want here. There's a lot you can go into.
Mhm.
In moving things along, what kind of books and authors does he read and enjoy?
He's doing a little more investigative reading right now.
Investigation into what?
On anything paranormal, specifically UFOs and extraterrestrials.
All right, so he's a UAP fan.
Well, I don't know if I call him a fan.
All right, he's a UAP interested.
Yes.
He follows UFO Twitter and those authors / speakers.
Yeah, I'd
He's
say
interested in ESP psychology.
Yeah, I also thought I'd throw out Stanton Friedman, Kathleen Marden,
Friedman, Martin. I'm just gonna make just a couple notes. You can be doing this yourself for the details.
sure, Strieber would be another one. Strieber.
Strieber, I'm not sure how to spell that, but we'll go with that.
That's fine. It's close.
And so those are some interested. So you can go really deep here again. We mentioned that he has basically what we'd consider traditional Judeo-Christian values. So maybe he also reads the Bible once in a while. But he's only kind of like he's not a super fanatic. He reads it once in a while. He doesn't really understand it. He wants to understand it, and sometimes it makes him feel better. So that kind of thing.
Yep.
And we can also make a pain point here that he's having difficulty reconciling faith beliefs religiously with his new interest in paranormal activity. And he feels that he is somehow part of it because of his dreams and stuff. So, all right. So this can go really deep in lots of ways. What kind of stores and brands does he shop at?
Definitely likes REI.
REI.
We'll throw Nike as a brand just for,
Nike. Yep.
What's the
Does he buy name brand clothing or generic?
I'd say a mix probably.
So some mid name brands, kind of
Yep.
like stuff. So like Tommy Hilfiger, maybe he buys those, which is not a real luxury brand. It's a fake luxury brand.
Mhm.
Do they do grocery shopping at the local mart, Walmart, Target, or Whole Foods?
So grocery shopping, probably I'd say some Whole Foods, maybe some Aldi's.
Whole Foods, Aldi's. I don't know what that is, but all
Okay.
right. You can tell where I shop.
Yep.
I shop at the butcher shop. That's where I shop.
Yeah.
All right. Does he interested in magazines? So there's not really read any periodicals.
Yeah, not so much.
No mag subscriptions.
Right.
What are his favorite movies?
I'd say action adventure.
Action. So like Die Hard,
Sure.
other kind of like muscle movies, Fast and Furious,
Yeah, maybe Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Every man loves Indiana Jones. If any man
Sure.
is not like Indiana Jones, like take away his man card.
Yeah.
So there we got those. What kind of TV shows he like? Obviously, right now he's watching The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch because he's interested in the UFO phenomenon.
Yep. And yeah, Ancient Aliens is probably big for him too.
Ancient Aliens, good choice. Yep,
Yeah.
Ancient Aliens. But he watches this on the down low. He watches when his wife's not around. This is kind of like his secret, indulgence. Because she thinks she's weirded out.
Yep.
Wife doesn't appreciate.
Yep.
And what kind of experts we mentioned, kind of the books and authors. There's a lot of crossover here. This would just be if there are other names. So I mentioned like Twitter already. Usually I would separate those out, but for the
Sure.
sake,
You throw out like maybe Arnie Palmer and Tiger Woods, maybe. He does some following of that too.
Yeah. Just like sports authorities, sports the guys that he admires, or fishing experts because he wants to, All right, hobbies, interests. We talked about fishing. He likes Tiger Woods. He maybe likes a little golf.
Golf, basketball, yeah.
Likes to play basketball with his
Or
buddy.
softball too. He likes the softball.
Yeah, we mentioned the softball,
Bowling.
biking and bowling, hiking, biking, and of course BBQ makes its other appearance here.
Yep.
And you can expand this out. All right. So if we've made a really deep dive into John Harris here, we know a lot about this guy now. And so what does having a profile like this allow me to do? It allows me to craft a message that John is going to find irresistible, because I understand things about John that he barely understands about himself. We don't take this kind of self-reflection even for our own minds. We don't take a step back and ask ourselves these questions about ourselves. So when you do it and you talk about the people that you're trying to reach, they feel like that you have some kind of cosmic connection to them that they can't understand, when all you did was you took 20 minutes to actually put yourself in their place, initially, to get to understand them. Now, continuing this exercise, I also have a B avatar, because I like to fill out more than one, because I might be a little bit off in some of my initial, brainstorming. So I usually make at least two, where I think about, what else in my target market exists that's incompatible with John. And maybe I would create Dave, and maybe Dave is in a relationship that's not going so well. They're filing for divorce and he's facing other issues and stuff like that. For some reason he is in a different situation, but he's also my target market. I can also help him. And so I would create this B avatar, and I would look for crossover. It's like, what do these two men actually have in common that I could say that would reach both of them? What are they really feeling? And that's why I go back to when we mentioned above, this feeling of, inadequacy because dad was our hero and we want to live up to being a good dad to our kids too. That's a really common theme. And maybe, it worked out for John, but maybe that's what actually ruined, Dave's marriage, because he was so, incapacitated by his insecurity to be a good father that he ended up being a horrible father. He was overcorrectioning, so that kind of thing. And you would make notes of that. So in the competitors tab here, this is more like just to check on what the other side is doing. So I mark a bunch of websites. Let's say I'm a coach. All right, who are the other coaches that Dave or John have as options? Who are their other options? Who else is trying to prospect John and make him an offer? And I would make notes of them. And oh, it's not on here, but I used to have a part where I would say, what are they offering? so that I can compare, like, is their offer actually more compelling than mine? What can I do to have one that's better, that won't set me back? The next tab here are target keyword phrases. So this is an interesting exercise, because what you do here is you put yourself in John's place. You go to and you sit down at Google. It's like, what is he searching for? Well, if I go back to his customer avatar, and he's thinking like, am I crazy? How do I account for lost time? And those kind of things. I make notes like, how do I account for lost time? And I start making just a list of all the things that John is searching for. And I would go to the Google keyword tool and get an estimate of how many people are searching for that. Why do this? This tells you where there is volume in the market. If I put this in here and I go find out, Google tells me that 10 people a month are searching for this, don't even waste your time pursuing that. But if I put something in here and Google say that 8,000 people a month are searching for this, I'm like, bingo, I have found where my market has a need. I have found the need that they're searching for, and I want to put that in my communication with them. So this is where the part in the avatar that we built of like, what's keeping them up at night? What are their barriers? What are they coming up against? That's what they're searching for. And this tells you kind of how many other people are searching for this same thing. All right. And if you're unfamiliar with the Google keyword tool, you can just Google it and you'll be able to find it. It's connected to Google AdWords, so you might have to create an ads account, but you don't have to spend anything on it in order to access it. There are alternative tools. You can also use a tool called SEMrush. You can also use a tool called SpyFu. Basically, you want a tool that will estimate keyword volume for you. All right. So in the case of SEMrush, I can come here and I can estimate like, how do I account for lost time? And let's see if they even have any information on it. Oh yeah, it wants me to log in. Don't log in, that's what I meant to do, sorry. All right, so if I come in here and I search, how do I account for lost time? There isn't a lot of searches around that, right? So how can I become a better father, maybe? Because that was one of his insecurities. All right, it's coming up that there's not a lot of competitive searches for that, at least that they found. But this is why I recommend looking at the Google keyword tool, is because it's going to be better. As a third-party thing, this will really only have information on large volume keywords. So if you're looking for something that's a little more niche specific, just using the free Google keyword tool will be a better option. But that's just how this works. You put it in here and it gives you some information on the keyword. And I would estimate, I'd put some of those notes here to try and find what are some of the biggest problems that my market has, because there's so many searches for it. All right. The next tab here is I would make a note of my offer, its key benefits, like what are the problems that my offer solves? So using Tom as an example here, what are you offering and what does that solve? What problem does it solve?
Well, let me pull out my brand new card, because I listed it on the back of my brand new card, but I don't have it memorized yet. So
Oh, here we go.
yeah, so well, it helps them discover a new way to be in this new reality, if that makes sense to you.
All right, so the problem that the offer is solving is I'm gonna come to grips with my reality, because that's the problem I'm having. The problem he's having is he's losing. You feel like he's losing his grip on reality. Yep. So we're gonna find our place here.
Another problem is how to communicate and trust with this.
Yeah, so the problem to solve is I have no one to talk to about this.
Right.
I feel alone,
Yep.
So these are the problems that John's facing, and you're going to help him solve. Now we jump down below. What will the offer do for you? Well, if I come to grip with my reality, what happens?
Yep. So, well, one of the things is how to embrace who they authentically are.
All right, so I'm going to embrace my authentic self.
Yep.
Which will do what for me?
Um, well, that'll give them some sense of confidence and security, I think.
Confidence and security.
Yep.
Which is going to get me what? I'm going to get that darn promotion over Barry the snake.
Yep. Yep.
Because now I've got confidence and security. I've embraced who I authentically am, and the boss is going to notice. The boss is going to notice. They're going to see through Barry the lying snake, who is completely inauthentic and totally impractical as a promotion candidate for the head of department. So I'm going to get that promotion because I'm confident and secure in who I am. And the only reason I wouldn't is if the company reveals that they are out of integrity with themselves, and I will quit and go work for somebody who sees me for who I am. Right?
Yep.
And if I get that promotion, well, that's going to mean more money. That's going to mean I'm going to get my boat. That means I'm going to have more time for the kids because I'm not going to take on a promotion that's going to take away more of my time. It's going to get better paid for my time, right? So what will the offer do for me? Well, it starts with doing that, but then we get this, the consequence of the consequence of the consequence, until it basically boils down to I'm living my best life. I'm happy. I feel better about myself in every single way, right?
Ripple effect.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So the last options here in the tab, because we're going to be running short on time here. There's so much more we could discuss, but I also have one here where when I create my offer, I create the landing page URL, and I have notes here of whether this is where I'm going to send traffic or this is where traffic is going to go as a goal. So in this case of a landing page, it would be like mywebsite.com. That's where I'm sending people. And then the thank you page and the follow-up pages, I would make note of all those pages, and those are goal pages that I want people to get to, which can be upsells, cross sells, invitations to other memberships and upgrades and that kind of thing. This is where I just kind of make a repository of all of the assets that I want to show John when he signs up with my program. And I leave them here for easy reference because I compare them with the other notes I've made to make sure that I'm congruent with my message. Here I make note of search ads. Well, I'll write some headlines that I might want to run as search ads. I'll write descriptions that I might want to run and which landing pages I'll use. This is also a great place where if I find competitors, I'll screenshot them and just throw them in here so that I can see them as I'm writing for inspiration. So when I'm at the keyword level, sometimes I'll spot good ads and I'm like, that's an ad that I would click on if I was John, and I'll screenshot it and I'll just throw it in here and save it so that I can be like, that person has made the same jump and they're probably doing well. I'm going to use that and stand on the shoulders of those who came before me, not steal, but draw inspiration from what's clearly working well there. And the same on Facebook. This would be my repository of I would go on Facebook and find ads from those competitors I mentioned, screenshot those, throw them here and keep them in a one file repository where I can find everything I want to know of how I'm going to communicate with John. And that is my template here. And
hey, Morris Grand, on a scale of 1 to 10, how helpful is this? You're in this stuff deep all the time. Where would you say we're at here?
My gosh, scale of 1 to 10 is too small. This is like 100 out of a 10. This is just too good.
Okay. So, and I don't get intimidated by all those tabs. I'm going to caution you guys, if you just kind of dial in that customer avatar A, do you see how much farther you are? Is this getting some light bulbs going for some of you guys? Helpful? It's like, oh my gosh, it's like it's there. Okay. Tyler has messed this up enough that he knows where it's at. Does that make sense? So he didn't get this by just being perfect every time, right? Tyler, you've done this by finding out what doesn't work. So some of those insights he just gave you are not just gold. I mean, they're platinum gold.
thank you, John. And it's true. You can, I think it was General Patton that said, that an ounce of sweat will spare a gallon of blood.
Yep.
You put a little bit of extra effort into this, even though it might feel kind of boring. It may not be super exciting to want to sit down and fill out spreadsheets and think.
Mhm.
It might be work. And while we didn't even get too deep into it, other things I do is if I feel like I'm stuck and I'm not understanding my avatar, I will go to Facebook and search for that name. Who's John Harris on Facebook? What does he look like? You know, oftentimes I'll even take a screenshot of like an AI generated face and put it in here so I can be looking at John while I'm thinking about it. I'll do an AI generated picture of his wife and kids. And I'll be sitting there thinking about like what's going through these people's mind. Where are they? What are they looking at? What are they seeing? What are they feeling? You know? And the more you ask these questions about your avatar and you start to find that you're empathizing and understanding with them, when we get to the point where it's like, how does my offer change his life? Well, I know exactly what's bothering him. And I can make the promised benefits of not just, hey, if you sign up for my program, well, you're going to get this one feature. It's that the benefits of joining is that this is going to improve the relationship with your kids that you've been dreaming about. This is going to get your boss's attention to get that promotion you've been looking for and beat Barry the Snake. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's a process that you do this first so that when it comes time to build your offer, you're not building the offer based on what you want to offer. You're building the offer based on what does John need? You know, what does he really want?
Yep. Okay, 2 thumbs up, everybody. Good stuff. Hey, good, Rosa, does that kind of help you out a little bit there? Right? Did you see the difference? Okay. You know, we've all got lists in front of us, and maybe we've had people we engaged with, and we can't figure out why didn't they jump in our basket or something like that. Okay. And we polished off our offer, we polished off our packages and stuff like that. And we just feel like we're hitting a brick wall. Okay. We haven't gotten the why behind the why behind the why. And here you're going to go deep and you're going to look at that stuff. So do the people that really go through and do this at a Fortune 10 level do this? They absolutely do, and then some. I'm going to tell you, they spend days and days and weeks and months on this. And the other thing that they do is they revisit it consistently. So this isn't something you do once and put on a shelf. This is something that you continually take out and refine and revisit. Has anybody heard of, there was a little store out of Chicago years ago. What was it called? Sears and something. Eric, what was that store? Sears and somebody else. What was that guy? But
Roebuck.
oh yeah. And when's the last time anybody heard of Sears and Roebuck, unless it was a history book? Okay, so what happened there, right? They obviously lost track of their avatar. Does that make sense? And so here's the other danger too. If you're doing well, okay, this is even more vital. If you're doing well in your business and you don't have control of this, danger. Does that make sense? If you're working with a business, okay, do you see how valuable this is? It's like, this is a blind spot. It's a blind spot in some of the best of them out there, okay? And some of the best of them out there that are even doing this need more help. Isn't that kind of cool?
Well, you can even look at just the gross errors made very recently in public in marketing. Look at what happened to Bud Light. They completely lost vision of who their customer avatar was. And it's costing them trillions. So, you know, regardless of where you stand politically on how that worked out specifically, there's just so many stories. You can look at what happened to Toys R Us, a super name brand that just lost sight of who its people were. And every time it happens, the businesses just go under and they feel like, we don't even know what happened. We don't know what went wrong. And it's because they created a business around a product instead of serving the people, and they were not willing to adapt to the changes in their people.
And you can take that to the bank. Tyler, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean, brother, I love you. And I said, Ben, one of the greatest events of my life is to meet you and work with you and to get this insight. This has been great. And for your willingness to come and share this with us, because just full disclosure, Tyler gets paid a hefty sum to do this with his clients. Okay, so he just gave you massive value here today.
Well,
So
the reason I added y'all on LinkedIn is because you'll all be receiving an invoice here shortly.
yes, bingo. Okay, great. Next week is we're gonna keep this thing rocking and rolling. If you get stuck, feel free to reach out. Don't hesitate to take action. Okay, if you're sitting there and absorbing this stuff and deer in the headlight, do something different. Okay, because this is the best of the best. This is the stuff that makes it work. Okay, my friends. Thank you, Tyler. We'll see you all next Thursday. Take care.